One of the more chilling Bigfoot encounters occurred in 1974 near Rochester, Minnesota. A man named Robert Lee Carter and his family reportedly had an intense confrontation with a creature resembling Bigfoot. After shooting his shotgun at the beast and wounding it, the creature attacked their home, leaving behind destruction and fear. Join me as we uncover the chilling details of the Carter's Bigfoot encounter. Beyond the dark side. In 1974, in the quiet rural outskirts of Rochester, Minnesota, the Carter family began to experience strange, eerie events that would soon escalate into one of the most harrowing and bizarre Bigfoot encounters ever reported. Robert Lee Carter lived with his wife and 2 children in a small house that sat on several acres of land surrounded by dense woods. It was the type of place where neighbors were miles apart, and nighttime was marked by an unsettling stillness, broken only by the sounds of nature. For several weeks, the Carters had been hearing strange noises at night. At first, it was nothing too alarming, just the typical sounds one might expect living in a wooded area. However, these noises soon grew more persistent and unsettling. There were the sounds of branches snapping, heavy footfalls on the ground, and what Robert described as a low growling sound, unlike any animal he had ever heard before. His initial thought was that it might be a bear or perhaps a group of coyotes. One evening, Robert stepped out onto the porch after hearing what sounded like something rummaging near the back of the house. As he scanned the tree line with a flashlight, his beam caught something that made his heart skip a beat. A pair of large, reflective eyes staring back at him. The creature stood just beyond the reach of the light, its shape barely discernible in the shadows. From what Robert could make out, the figure was tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in what appeared to be dark fur. Shaken but unsure of what he had seen, Robert went back inside, locking the doors and windows. He didn't tell his wife or children what he had seen, hoping that it had just been an animal passing through. However, over the next few nights, the sightings continued. Each time, the figure seemed to be getting bolder, coming closer to the house. Once, Robert even saw the creature standing in their yard in the fading light of dusk, watching the house silently. After these sightings, Robert started keeping his shotgun nearby, just in case. His unease grew as the creature's visits became more frequent. Carter was unable to hide what he had witnessed. As the days passed, on multiple occasions, Carter and his family saw the creature standing near the tree line at dusk, watching them. Described as being tall, hairy, and bipedal, with glowing eyes that reflected in the dark, the figure was unlike any known animal. The family became increasingly uneasy as the creature began moving closer to their home each night. Despite attempts to scare it off by making loud noises, the mysterious figure continued to linger on their property. One night, as the family sat down for dinner, they heard what sounded like something brushing up against the side of the house, followed by a loud thud. When Robert rushed to the door, shotgun in hand, he saw the same creature again, standing just a few feet from the porch. Without hesitation, Robert fired a warning shot into the air, hoping to scare it off. The creature let out a terrifying, guttural growl before retreating into the woods, but Robert knew this wasn't over. A few nights later, the creature came back, and this time, it was even closer. One particularly fateful night, the family's worst fears were realized. Around midnight, Robert heard something moving just outside the house. He grabbed his shotgun and went outside, expecting to scare the creature off once more. But this time, the creature was not just watching from a distance, it was walking toward the house. Standing face to face with the creature in the moonlight, Robert realized just how massive it was. It towered over him, standing at least 7 feet tall, with broad shoulders and long, muscular arms. Its body was covered in thick, matted hair, and its face was a grotesque mix of human and ape-like features. Fearing for his family's safety, Robert aimed his shotgun and fired directly at the creature. The blast struck it in the shoulder, and the creature let out a deafening roar before turning and running into the woods. Robert, still in shock, rushed back inside, knowing they had to leave immediately. The family quickly packed up their things and drove to a relative's house for the night, too terrified to stay in their home any longer. The next day, when they returned to the house, they were met with a horrifying sight. The door had been forced open and the inside of the house was completely destroyed. Furniture had been overturned, dishes were smashed, and it looked as though something had rampaged through the home in a blind fury. The family was convinced that the creature had returned after they fled, possibly seeking revenge for being shot. Despite the damage, there was no clear evidence left behind that could explain what had happened. There were no footprints, no fur, and no other physical signs of the creature. Local authorities were baffled by the incident, and with no concrete evidence, the story remained nothing more than a terrifying unsolved mystery. The Carter family, deeply shaken by the ordeal, moved away from the area not long after, unwilling to risk another encounter with the unknown. The story of Robert Lee Carter and his family has since become one of the most bizarre and unsettling Bigfoot encounters ever recorded. What began as strange noises and sightings escalated into a violent confrontation that left their home in ruins. To this day, the events of that night remain unexplained, leaving many to wonder what really lurked in the woods near the Carter home. Many have debated whether the creature was truly a Bigfoot or something else entirely. Regardless, the Carter family's experience remains a stark reminder of the unexplained and the potential dangers that come with confronting the unknown in isolated rural environments. This account remains one of the most compelling Bigfoot stories due to its violent climax and the chilling aftermath. Do you believe the Carter family truly encountered Bigfoot, or could there be another explanation for the strange events? What do you think the creature wanted? Was it simply curious, or was it trying to send a warning? Do you think the damage to their home the next day was caused by the creature returning, or could it have been something else? Do you think the Carters' decision to flee their home ultimately saved their lives? What are your thoughts?